Step 4. Everybody just do your thing.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be
Welcome to Tales from the Field. My name is Bradley Ball. We are back and better than ever. And boy, are we back in a big way. It is Microsoft Build Week. And just announced hot off the presses. Now you know what all the live events are about. It is about Fabric. That's right. That's Andreas lifting his mask of just keeping it all together. Any minute now, you're gonna find him as a hyper 5-year-old huddled in a corner with chocolate all over his face. busy week. Last week on Monday, we released Azure SQL database maintenance plans with dynamic Azure Data Factory pipelines. Dan Taylor walked us through integrating Hologren's wonderful maintenance scripts. Our community roundtable was on Tuesday, and on Wednesday, we released 5 reasons to use Azure SQL Managed Instance. Not the only 5 reasons, but those were very good 5 reasons. So you want to make sure and check those out. Then this Monday, we released use Azure Managed Identities to back up Azure Managed Instance to blob storage, not SaaS tokens. Where can you find those? Well, over on our YouTube channel. Go check that out right now. It is the hub of Tales from the Field. And if this is your first time finding us, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Do you want to interact with the show? We'd love you to interact with the show. And it is so easy to do. We are streaming right now or over on our Twitter account, Tales from the Field, on SQL Balls, on Josh Ludeman, on Neeraj Jhaveri, all over on Twitter. On LinkedIn, we're on SQL Balls. And of course, streaming out of our hub, Tales from the Field, over on YouTube. If you make a comment on any one of those streams, one of my amazing co-hosts will see that and they will add your comment. You will be part of the show. Before I get any further, let me introduce those wonderful co-hosts of mine. I am joined by Andreas Padilla, Josh Ludeman, and he's the fabric that holds us all together. The one, the only, Neeraj Jhaveri. I think Andreas, did you like that product placement right there with Neeraj? He's the fabric that holds us all together.
Very, very slick and covert. You do it better than anybody, Bradley.
I appreciate it. I don't think that's true. Personally, I'd rather hear one of the mics from Mike and Mike on the radio instead of me, but I'll take it. I love you, man. I appreciate it. This is such a busy week, right? We're so excited for this. So first off, we have not 1, not 2, but 3 live shows this week. We will be coming to you tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. UTC time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, with none other than Adam Saxton himself, one half guy in the cube. And we will also be there with Bradley Schatt from the Azure Snaps product group, and also Cal Yella from the Azure Snaps product group as well. And we will be talking about Microsoft Fabric, Trident, this big new service that we have just launched. It has been worked on for years. It ties so many things together. And we are super excited about this. Gentlemen, I'm beside myself. Any thoughts on your part?
And if you look at the keynote, it's such an excitement going on. I mean, Fabric AI, a lot of big announcements. Like he said, there are 50 announcements. He only covered 5 of them, but big announcements coming in here, particularly AI and Fabric. Absolutely.
Our good buddy Dan Taylor says that Neeraj is the fabric of our lives. Dan,
Thanks,
I couldn't
Dan.
agree more with you. Glad to have you out there, buddy. It is. Now it's Neeraj. Way to go.
Okay, then.
There we go. So Dan will be joining us as well. So I was going to say, you're going to have 7 of us all on one screen. I don't know that if you got to be watching this on a computer because you're not going to have enough real estate space. I'm so excited about all this, but at the same time, the star of the show every single week is the Azure Data Community and the creators in the community that have created things for us. So I'm going to start off with our honorable mentions, and then we will move right along to the roundtable. So first off, I'm going to point everybody to this blog. Now, this is in my wrap-up blog that we just posted today. You can get to it on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Just head over to SQLballs.com. It's going to be at the top of the list. The Microsoft Digital Event pre-show, Azure Fast Track, Power BI Cat, Azure Snaps, Analytics PG. This basically talks about the big event that we're going to be having starting tomorrow. And we're very excited about this. We are the 1-hour lead-in show to the big Microsoft digital event. The digital event will be simulcast on Power BI's YouTube channel, Azure Synapse's YouTube channel, and on Guy in a Cube's YouTube channel. So plug into whichever YouTube channel you want to. It's going to be simulcast across all those. Personally, I'm heading over to Guy in a Cube because we're all subscribed to Guy in a Cube, and those are our good friends over there, Adam and Patrick. And I will be watching Adam and Patrick as they MC the day, and we go through getting all this wonderful activity. And there's going to be so many sessions, so many things that come about. But we are your spot to be able to have a live Q&A with these people on this screen. So you want to make sure that you come and you stay tuned, bring your questions, because we want to hear from you. So go over and check out this blog. There's a preview for the digital event. There's an iCalendar reminder, and I've got links right here to both of our pre-shows. So click on those, and it will lead you directly to the page, just waiting to be able to be loaded up. So that is our first honorable mention. And the second honorable mention I want to make is every single year when we have Build, Microsoft does this really great job of running the Book of Build. And the Book of Build has all the announcements that we come through at Build. This will be included in the wrap-up links that come up next week. This will be included in the links that we have in the description of the show after this is finished and posted to YouTube. And what you'll find is all the different things that we have, but there's also a wonderful table of contents so you can go through and you can see what's new for AI, what's new for Azure Data, what's new for infrastructure, computing, dev tools. This is a wonderful way to be able to break it down and then to be able to come down, close that table of contents, and look specifically at what has been announced. So if you are looking, because there's going to be so much, right? Satya talked about how he just talked about 5 announcements, and there's over 50 that are going to occur. As those announcements occur, they will be added. This list will grow. So this is going to be the site that you want to take a look at this week to be able to make sure that you understand what's going on at Build. And of course, don't forget to go register for Build. It is free to register online. Andreas, I'm talking a lot. What do you think, man? What are you excited for this week?
Everything that has to do with AI and OpenAI. Oh, I can't wait.
Did you see the keynote demos?
What was that?
Did you see the keynote demos?
I saw the keynote demo. I have my schedule already listed out. I'm going to be at the computer after I leave you guys for the rest of the day, checking out all, just a wave. I just want all that wave to shower me with knowledge.
I was going to say there's so much good stuff. I absolutely loved looking at Windows. Heck, if I can get Windows 11 just to successfully connect to my Bluetooth headphones, I'm going to be happy. But the idea that it can integrate now with OpenTable, I love using OpenTable. Whenever we go out to eat with a group of friends here in the Orlando area, I'm always using OpenTable to book the restaurants, even over at Disney Springs. But this, Neeraj, what about you? Anything leap out to you from the keynote?
Particular fabric part of it, been working on this from a little bit over like 2 months, so a little bit excited on that part of it, playing around with that, and then hoping to get some more videos for you guys to also play around as we keep learning.
Yes. Oh, as a matter of fact, you and I, we've got some work to do after we get off the call today, and we've got a very special video we'll be dropping tomorrow.
Yep.
I'm excited about that. Well, speaking of up next, Neeraj, you're kicking us off. You've got using Azure DevOps with Synapse Workspaces to create hot fixes in production environments.
So this was one of the blog that came up, a very nice written blog. One of my customer they were pretty new to DevOps. They were not sure how to use it up. And I was trying to explain them out the branches, how to do the branches and all that stuff. And they were like not still getting it up because they were like, what happens if something break up or something needs to be done it right away? They don't want to go through the whole dev QA or dev test and production type of it. So I was just looking for some blog or something that I can explain it out, and very nicely written blog where you can do feature branches, you can even do hot fixes branches, and how you can move really fast on this. it even shows you in DevOps how to do this whole thing, which is nicely written, right? I mean, sometimes people who are new to DevOps, it takes longer for them to do it, and this is something that would really help the customer also. They were also excited on understanding how to do it. So nicely written blog, and nicely to understand how to do DevOps.
Very nice. And I believe that was by Vitus Supoulos.
Yep.
If I've got Vitus's name correct. Yeah, that great stuff. And I love it when somebody takes conceptual and then applies it to practical. There's so many times we'll say, do this, do this, do this, but tying those pieces together are incredibly important. I am up next, and I have one. I have actually used this a couple times, and this inspired the video that we dropped on Monday. This is from September 2022, so a little over, we're getting pretty close to about a year old. But Zoran Relic from the Managed Instance Product Group delivered a wonderful blog. And in this blog, they actually go a lot deeper into this than I did, where they start off with a managed instance within a virtual network, and they talk about how they can use managed identity. But they also talk about why you should use a managed identity instead of a shared access signature, which I really loved, because one of the things they talk about, because we all recognize the limitations of a shared access signature. Sure, I can go and generate one, but I can't get access to it, and I can't revoke permissions to it other than setting the expiration within the SAS token when I create it. That's a bit of a problem, right? Like if I create a token that's available for a really long time, I can't go in there and just invalidate it. I don't really have a control plane mechanism to be able to do it. But if I do this with a managed identity, if I make that connection between the services, first off, it's not going to be misused. Second off, it's a very secure mechanism between those two services. And I'm also not going to have to change out the SAS tokens every so often like I would if I was using SAS tokens to back up the URL. The managed identity will continue to work, but if I ever feel like it's compromised and I want to revoke its access, I could absolutely do it. So it gives us a little bit more control as well. And as a matter of fact, he goes through how to be able to connect this to an Azure Blob Storage on a private endpoint. And the customer scenario where one of the PG members had told CSS to reach out to me because of the work I've done on this, and we worked together to kind of find a solution. Now, the fix actually was there was an issue with the Terraform template that deployed the storage account, so we just provisioned a new storage account. We were able to get everything to function the way that it needed to. But one of the things what we did was we showed the proof that this would work, and we slowly stepped our way up. But this is a great, wonderful fix, very, very applicable. Next up, I have Andreas. Andreas building interactive enterprise-grade applications with OpenAI and Microsoft Azure.
Great article by Andrei Sachkovkov. And what I want you guys to know about this is that there, with OpenAI and ChatGPT, we have a combination. Now we're entering a world of how do I combine the OpenAI models with cognitive services, with an application, with end user applications, and what that whole ecosystem looks like. Now, this is a little bit of a longer, article, but it's a great article in this sense, where with the value in this is it shows us the roles and responsibilities of the user, the application, and the models, and how that flow looks like. Now, take away all the, what's handling, take away OpenAI and cognitive services and Azure Search, and just lay those to the side. What we care about in this article is what is the user doing? What is he asking? Grabbing that intent. What is intent? And interpreting that intent, and then verifying and filtering out from the possible answers what we should give back to that user. And if you conceptualize it in those blocks, just saying, okay, I'm grabbing his intent, I'm filtering, I'm modifying the incoming requests, I'm going to start to orchestrate that request to a particular model, I'm going to validate it, filter what I really need to do. And if I can go back to a cache, because it's going to actually be faster and cheaper, and return back the answer to the user. And then obviously log all of this. And he gives us a potential architecture. What the value in this article is conceptualizing all those pieces that you need Then you put them into individual modules or blocks, and then you inject the necessary service or product into that module. Voila. Now you understand how all the pieces work together. Now with OpenAI and ChatGPT, we're going to see similar scenarios like this where you're going to need an orchestrator, you're going to need a cache, you're going to need a filtration system. How does that all work together? And this guy shows us conceptually how all of those would interplay together.
Very nice.
Nice.
Very nice. Good stuff. Josh, I've got you up next, spreading your SQL Server rings with serverless SQL pools by our friend Kevin.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. Internet's a little herky-jerky here, so I may break up a couple of times. But the nice thing is I found Kevin. He does a lot of great articles on the basics of Synapse, both dedicated pools, serverless pools. And not only does he go through the basics of it, he talks about CI/CD and how to use it. Talks about CI/CD, how you can use it with these services, and really understanding the differences between not only dedicated pools, but serverless pools, but the differences between them and the SQL Server engine. He also does similar posts across the SQL Server engine, managed instance, SQL Edge. So I really wanted to highlight him. This is just one of his great articles to use to highlight him.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Sorry, go ahead, Neeraj.
No, this is pretty cool article. I mean, I use it sometimes to, not for me, but just to send it out to customers or also people who are new to Synapse serverless pool. Very nicely written, this article.
Very nice stuff. Yeah, agreed. And everybody was a beginner at some point in time. So it's incredibly important that we remember that we need to have these items here where we're not going that 400, 500 level deep technology topic. We need to have the stuff that allows people to be able to enter in and lower that barrier for entry. Good stuff. Next up is Neeraj. Neeraj, what is Responsible AI by Ellen Glover?
So with all this AI coming in, and we are pushing as responsible AI to be the big part of it for AI things that you're doing it up. A very nicely written article by Ellen Glover. She shows what is responsible AI. I mean, she's giving you exact explanation of what really is a responsible AI, and then responsible AI versus ethical AIs. I mean, people are like, yeah, I don't care if something is wrong or the models are wrong or something like that. So very nicely shown saying what it is important, why responsible AI is so important, and then she covers the 6 pillars that Microsoft supports as a part of it. The 6 principles that you definitely, when you are implementing an AI model, have to make sure, like fairness, transparency, privacy and security, inclusiveness, accountability, and transparency is what we definitely want to make sure they're there. And then she also gives you why, what's the benefits of it. I mean, very nicely written down benefits of why your AI model should cover all the 6 principles in there. So it definitely improves the quality also when you have responsible AI in there. So go ahead, check it out. Brad, you're on mute if you're talking.
Well, I apologize. I was clearing my throat and I muted myself. There we go. Josh, it wasn't you this time. It wasn't you.
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, oh, it wasn't me.
What's that? Sorry, Josh, you're breaking up. No, Neeraj, I'm just messing with him. Don't. You're fine, Josh. You're fine. I know that's not nice. My bad. My bad, everybody. I shouldn't have done that. So this is a wonderful presentation. The Junior Database Professionals, the key to every data team's success. And it was by Avante Janti and Taylor George. I met them both when we were at SQL Bits. Very, very nice young men. Wonderful guys. And they've got this great presentation. First off, I love some of the graphics that they did. I love the presentation style that they had. And not only that, they present on a topic that it's so easy for us to be able to forget about. The fact is, we have to have junior people and we have to have opportunities for junior people to be able to come in and get experience. One of the things that they talk about is, as they go through this, they talk about the statistics of the number of companies, and they were, of course, looking specifically around Great Britain, that were looking for job advertisements that were looking for people from the data field. And it turned out that a little over 55% of all companies were looking. And the reason they were looking is they're looking for people with experience. Well, how do you get experience? You got to get that job in the first place. And one of the things they talk about is specifically the different ways that you can get experience, but also the different key areas where people need to be able to get experience. They talked about their interview process. They talked about being able to find jobs, how they got into the data field. And I thought this was just a really great topic that I want to challenge. Like, anybody who's a senior person, go out and watch this video, because there are easily things that you have forgotten that they cover that make you go, yeah, we really need to be working on making sure that we've got good opportunities for people coming around and coming into the field. So that way there's a point in time where all of us are going to get a little long in the tooth. We need to have new blood. And not only that, it gives a new point of view and new insights into our field. So absolutely wonderful presentation. They did it for Data Grillin'. It's up on the Data Grillin' website. Of course, big shout out to Data Grillin' and to the wonderful people out there. But yeah, so Dan Taylor said, Craig Silver and Doug Hansen provided me my first break with Sybase ASE. I would not be here without them. Yeah. I mean, look, all of us got a break somewhere. And all of us got our start, and it was because we got a chance somewhere along the line. They also had really good advice about how, if you are a junior person, try and bring something with you. I think I gave the story about how in my first interview, I literally took a portfolio of all the websites that I'd done, either as a volunteer or as a developer, because I had the code to be able to show, hey, here's what I've done. And the first job I got because of that portfolio. So nice job, Avante, and also for Taylor. Wonderful job. Andreas, I've got you up next. How to deploy your AI model on edge devices with Azure.
You're on mute, Andreas.
Oh, you're on mute. 2 in a row.
Wow.
When I start talking, and then Josh is just having a field day. But that's okay. Every time. Yeah, it happens to all of us.
Okay. I hope the third round I don't get it. So we have a great article by Renee Bremer, and he shows us how to take custom vision, cognitive services, custom vision, and then use that to train a model that does graffiti detection on trains. That's a scenario, and export it to TensorFlow. But what I love about this article is, the 1, 2, 3 easy button of how to get into this, how to, grab a data set, how to inject it into the custom vision cognitive services service that we have within Azure, how to start training that model, and then how to export it, and finally push it into a Docker container so I can have it live on an edge device. So if there's an easy button for custom vision, this is the easy button. This is the easy button article. All you need to know is in this article, Renee Bremer did an excellent job of bringing all that circle of life into one repo, into one article. And, you should be up and running with a virtual machine, an Ubuntu virtual machine as your mock edge device and in Azure, and deploying a Docker container onto it, I'd say in 20, 30 minutes. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Very nice. Nice job, Renee. That's really cool too. I always love it when we see the applications of the visual AI portions. Nice stuff. All right. So up next, I have Josh Ludeman, Azure SQL input bindings for Azure Functions.
Yeah. So this one is exciting. This one's exciting for me because when Azure Functions run, the bindings are what feed the data to the function. So having input binding on Azure Functions allows you to use, when the function is triggered, allows it to pull in data directly from SQL Server. Neeraj here walks through a very simple scenario where when the trigger fires, it runs a query against a specific database table and returns the contents to the function to be able to run its work. I wanted to lay this out for folks because I think there's some interesting applications there around doing database maintenance on Azure SQL DB, where you don't have necessarily, that agent to run your jobs, setting up Azure functions with this input binding and having .NET maybe do some of the, thinking that you need to do as part of that, some of that database maintenance, making it slightly intelligent database maintenance. I just saw this come through and I was like, this is a great article that, transcends outside apps and could really help out data folks, especially.
Absolutely. Good stuff. I really like that. I know Davide Murray actually has some really neat things, some advances that he's got this week that will be coming out during build. And of course, he owns the project, the API calls, the REST Endpoints Project Hawaii that they've got going on over on the Azure SQL database side. And he's been very active with that. I saw a preview of some of the things that he's going to be talking about this week, and he's got some really, really cool things that also go in that direction as well. So you want to make sure and check those things out. Nice one, Josh. All right, Neeraj, you are up next. You have generative AI. Oh, didn't take. There we go. Generative AI defined, how it works and works, benefits, and dangers by Owen Hughes.
So this whole article came up this Saturday when I was just talking to one of my friends who came over for dinner. He's not into IT, so he's like, why is it so much buzz about ChatGPT and all that stuff? So I was trying to explain him out, right? I mean, what is the difference, right? I mean, AI was always there from day one, but what is the difference, right? What is generative AI? I mean, what it does, how does AI generative model works? And then I gave him some examples. So I was giving this article to him over the weekend. I found this article for him. And I was like, okay, read this up and maybe that might help you out. What really is generative AI? I mean, why is it so important these days? What is a buzz out there and how things are going to be working on it? So, and also like dangers and limitations, right? I mean, people don't understand that some of these AI models have dangers and limitations to it. So just wanted to give him a whole idea to understand in a very nicely way. And nice article by Owen Hughes.
Well, and it's important to realize, right? Because when we get into these models, what we're looking for is that largely we're using the text generative. However, I was just talking with our good buddy Buck Woody today, and one of the things they're doing is we're finding that there's a combination of things occurring within models. And we were talking about how in ChatGPT 4 that the codex is combined, that you don't have to make a separate call to a codex to be able to have code generated, which I found to be absolutely fascinating. And it's neat to think that very soon some of the ChatGPT 3 models we have will be deprecated for 4 and the other advances that are coming out. Just great stuff. And it's a really interesting time that we're living in with this. I'm up next. I've got Tim Mitchell. So Tim Mitchell's reflections on my first ever presentation 15 years later. I love Tim. Tim is one of the people that I met in the SQL community back in 2011 when I started, and Tim was already in there. Tim talks about his first presentation in 2008. And I love Tim to death. Great human being. And whenever we get together, it is a good time. Also has an amazing karaoke voice. And I'm not even saying that as a joke, because sometimes, I do. I mean, this man can sing. If he ever decided to give up data as a living and become a singer, I would not have been surprised. I was just absolutely amazed by him whenever we would go do SQL karaoke. Nobody wanted to go after him.
Bublé of karaoke.
I would say so. They're both adorable and charming. So, it works out. Tim would definitely be within what I would qualify as that. So Tim's talking in this about how 15 years ago, he did his first presentation and he talks about what it led to. And often I talk about getting involved in the Azure Data Community. And this is one of the things I want to make sure that people realize is where this helps lead you. Because he talks about some of the friendships he made. Here's a picture from back in 2008 at that SQL Saturday Jacksonville, the first SQL Saturday Jacksonville. We were just up there at the 15th SQL Saturday Jacksonville. And so 15 years ago, Tim was up there giving his first presentation ever, meeting a whole bunch of people within the data community at that point in time. I mean, we're still 3 years away from Azure at that point, right? And now 5 years ago, he started his own consulting company. He's written on 3 books. He's been a blogger. He's presented at international conferences across the board. There's so many wonderful opportunities that being active in the community it brings to you. And it helps you prepare for them. And so whenever I talk to people and I'm like, hey, you should definitely go and participate in the community. I saw Brent Ozar did one of these lately. There's a lot of people who are looking back and going, hey, my first presentation this many years ago. It's an interesting thing to look at because everybody starts somewhere. And it's really important to realize that you can take your first steps, and the community is very welcoming. So just go find a place to volunteer and speak at. User groups, SQL Saturdays, Data Saturdays. There's so many virtual events that are still occurring in the world. Lots of opportunity out there.
I just did this over the weekend. I was talking to my kid. I mean, I came across my old CDs, and I found one of the presentations, and she's like, "What a crap presentation you have!" I'm like, "Yeah, that was one of my first presentations that I did a couple of years back, and now I understand."
Ooh, getting heckled by the kiddos. Hey, Damu, generative AI cannot replace Tales for thank you, Damu.
you.
I appreciate you. That's right. Josh would love to figure out a way to have AI replace me, but it's not going to happen yet. I mean, look, I'm just saying, Josh, I want a weekly video on your progress on trying to replace me with AI, and I'll be happy. That's all I need.
Don't tempt me. Don't tempt me.
That should be a show, you guys.
Next
We
could be
should
a
have
hackathon
AI
movie
represent
project.
our avatars do a show one day.
Yeah, we should have avatars.
I got to tell you, avatars creep me out. I have never seen an avatar
or
on
we can all
anybody
dress
where I
like
ever
clowns.
went.
You know.
To be fair, go search Twitch sometime, and there is an AI-driven animated version of Seinfeld that never ends. It just goes, and AI writes the lines live as it continues. It writes the lines, feeds it to the program, makes the
Oh,
We lost him.
there we go. What's that? What's that? No, we lost him. Okay. Oh, he's back. He's back. Hey, Josh. Sorry, you were making a point, but it's Andreas's turn. Andreas, you're up next.
Josh, we'll come back to you in a second. I think it's Josh's turn after myself.
There we go.
So what we have
an
here
overview of Microsoft NLP solutions
by Lita Giramalno. Great article on the ecosystem, the inventory that you have within cognitive services. What she does here is, one, it sets the tone. You come up to the table, you're pretty much at the table, and you're in Azure, and you're like, okay, what can I do that's out of the box solutions? Where are the pre-built AI? Okay, she tells us a little bit about that. Then she tells us a little bit about where can we do custom AI, and what other types of deep learning frameworks can I use? What kind of CPU or GPUs can I do to train? And how do I deploy it? What she does here is she gives us an inventory of how it's all organized in Azure. But she actually pinpoints, she actually zones in and focuses on natural language processing. For natural language processing solutions, what can we do within Azure Cognitive Services? What can we do within custom built AI? So, and then she has links to all of these great GitHub repository recipes where we can actually deploy these solutions through code. What if I was a starter? If I'm coming in, I'm getting this question from customers that are pretty green, and they're saying, Andreas, where do I start? Go to this article, get the lay of the land, and then the question is, do we use pre-built AI? Or do I lean on custom AI? Do I need to have control of my model and training and the artifacts that come out of it? If that's one of the questions that says, yes, I need full control, I'll push you to custom AI. I'll push you to Databricks, machine learning, maybe Trident now, right? Now that it came out.
Yeah.
And what I want you to see is get the inventory first, then make that big decision.
Very nice. And here we are. Last. Oh, Damu said maybe Josh can be replaced by a generative. See, I don't want any of us to get replaced by AI because no offense, who am I going to buy hats for? I mean, Josh is the only person. My wife doesn't even wear hats. Josh is the only person on this planet I buy hats for. I'm out of Disney. I'm constantly thinking, would it look good on Josh?
Well, why doesn't anybody like me?
I like you, buddy.
We like you.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. There we go. All right. So last but certainly not least, it's your friend of mine, Mr. Josh Ludeman, with using Docker on Windows with persistent SQL Server settings and databases.
Ooh.
Yeah, and so this was actually
and
a great post for folks who, like myself, like to run for folks who run SQL Server on Docker. Oh, this is great. See, this is why I made this ticker on the bottom.
Yeah, I was going to say, so
this is
and to
really
try
a
and help
deep
out
dive
Josh.
on SQL Server running in a container.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, Josh, just to help you out a little bit. So if you're running Linux a SQL in a Docker container, and hey, just so you know, Josh, Dan loves you and Damu likes you too. So you're good, buddy. And we will get the internet situation fixed out if I have to go over to your house and reset it myself. But to give this this article its due, this is by SQL Kitty, Josephine Bush. Yeah, we had her on just a week or two ago with an article that she did. And this is a great thing because one of the things you want to be able to do is persist things within a Docker container, understanding how to be able to set up those Docker containers and how to be able to persist settings there. Because while they are a container, you might want to be able to save some specific changes to them, spin them up. So very quickly, you've got your own image that is configured in the way that you want to. And also being able to connect to it and being able to persist specific objects to it, enabling SQL agent, different items like that. You'll want to be able to change these different settings. And Josephine is doing a great job of walking through it. Josh, I don't know if you want to hop back in. I can see you moving down there. Maybe not. Maybe not. Okay. There we go.
No, I'm in and out, and it's laggy. So, but yeah, the big thing for me was being able to have storage that
Yeah, persistent storage is a really big deal when it comes to a Docker container. Absolutely. So that's it for the roundtable. We've made it through all the links. I will update the description with all of the different links that we have when this finishes. So now we're going to cut over to our wrap up. And the first thing that I want to say is MS Build is going on, right? Mm-hmm. So we want to make sure that we are that we go and we sign up for Build. Right. Trying to do a couple of things at the same time. So we go and sign up for Build. Remember, it is a free event for you to be able to attend online. Don't miss out on this content. We have the digital show. Adam Saxton, Patrick LeBlanc on Guy in a Cube. They have an after hours tonight. They have another one on Wednesday. If you have questions about Fabric and Trident, you're going to want to be there. And where else do you need to be? You need to be in our pre-show tomorrow at 11 a.m. East Coast time, 3 p.m. UTC time, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And we are the pre-show for the big digital event. Adam will be joining us. Cal Yella will be joining us from the Snaps product group. Bradley Schapp from the Snaps product group. We will be live for an hour. Dan Taylor will be joining us. It will be all of us together. We're going to have a question and answer. We're going to have some demos. We're going to have a whole bunch of fun stuff. It is going to be absolutely amazing. Don't forget, on Monday, we dropped Monday's use Azure Identity to Managed Identity to back up the Azure Managed Instance to blob storage, not SAS tokens. And tomorrow, Neeraj and I will have a very special video on for you, specifically on Fabric. And let's see, we will plug Life 360 next week. And then we had a question from Darmu: is Docker containers only useful for development? Any other? No. And I love it. I see Josh, you're with us. You're shaking your head as well. So yeah, Docker containers really are great for development situations. If you're going to use a Docker pod in production, that would be in a Linux virtualized environment, or if you're looking at using that pod within a Kubernetes container. I'm sorry, within a Kubernetes cluster.
Kubernetes cluster.
Yeah. So that's really the only places where you're going to find that in production. Otherwise, you would just be running straight SQL Linux on a Linux server.
Yep.
All right. And I think so. Next week we'll talk a little bit more about Live 360, but this week belongs to build. Make sure and hang in with us on Wednesday and Thursday, and then the following week we will be back talking to you. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a great week, gentlemen. Take care. It was good seeing you.
Bye.
Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up, today's gonna be a good day. Wake up.